it's, every comedian is someone's favorite comedian, and one of the taboos online is making fun of like a fucking comedian, and then you have like 8 people in your midst. Like, you're not funny either. It's like, I know, I have a real job.
Right. Yeah. And like we look to other people to tell truth, but for some reason I feel like people don't want to listen to historians or experts or people who've dedicated their lives to, like, I don't know, say studying microbiology or something like that. When they want truth about the world, they like the shortcut of seeing a comic. And there was just like a lot of discourse about Dave Chappelle's anti-trans stand-up routine and how it was insensitive and wrong, and people disagreed with it, and I disagreed with it. I also just didn't think it was very funny. And then there was a lot of like, well, yeah, I mean, people just can't be funny anymore. You can't say what's on your mind. The comedy and free speech, it's over. It's over, bro. What is interesting about this clip here is this is someone who's doing comedy about trans people in a way that like actually isn't dehumanizing, and I found it refreshing.
I went on a date with my first trans man. It was fun. I didn't know he was trans from his profile, but in person I figured it out, but I didn't give a fuck. I'm too poor to have a phobia, okay? As long as you identify as a man who's paying this check. At the end of this motherfucking meal. That's all I care about. As long as your pronouns are Zelle and Cash App, I don't give a fuck about what else you got going on. And it was a good day, you know what I'm saying? Conversation was good, the vibe was good. It went south when the bill came and his car declined. Right, I was like, ooh. And he's like, oh, don't worry, one of my 6 roommates are gonna send me some money. I was like, what the fuck, you live at jail, nigga? What the fuck? 6 roommates? So long story short, he pays the bill. He says, Eva, I had a great time. I would love to take you out again. I said, absolutely the fuck not. He got offended. He's like, I thought we had a great time. Don't tell me you're transphobic. I said, no, baby, I don't date the poor. I'm poor. What the fuck we gonna do together? Wish upon a star, nigga? I need help. I said, first of all, that's poor planning on your end. Why didn't you transition into a rich man? Right? So your transactions can go through.
Let's go. All right. Well, I love that because you can be funny and not be an asshole. You can be funny and affirm trans people's identities. It's kind of as simple as it gets. Are you punching up or are you punching down? And that was a funny way to talk about her date with a trans man without it being like, what's wrong with these young people, which is what passes for comedy these days for some folks.
That was also comedian Eva Evans, and
yes.
But she notably also, did not mention their genitalia.
Yes.
And talk about whether they had a penis or not.
Right.
500 times.
Right.
Is that allowed? Are you allowed to do that when you're talking about trans people? Not mention their genitalia? Yeah. And this is the first I've heard of it. No, I thought it was good.
This was good, but I honestly never laughed harder than I have recently when I heard Jerry Seinfeld going, "What's the deal with masculinity? Whatever happened to men?"
Right. Why can't we return to that comedy?
Whatever happened to men? I want a real man.
Yeah, but then he was mentioning like Hugh Grant. He was like mentioning Hugh Grant, like when he thought of women, wasn't he?
He mentioned Muhammad Ali, who in an interview with Barry Weiss, who literally yesterday I saw a photo of in a keffiyeh, and then also mentioned Howard Cosell, who was a boxing commentator. And it's like, the list of that you have for like real. I mean, I would have gone with a stereotypical image of like a cowboy, a Clint Eastwood type, or I don't know, Chuck Norris. I guess that's more of my image of what people think of as masculine in American culture, but that's what he went with. Yeah.
Whatever happened to real men like Woody Allen? I mean, really? What's so weird? He's so weird. I mean, what a weirdo.
I get that, because all this is nostalgia. Like, all of this is just nostalgia for like someone's own past. And I think for comedians and celebrities, it's wherever they were at their peak. And so he mentions people that he remembers being like the height of masculinity, getting lots of chicks, you know, hitting home runs or like knocking people out when he was a boy. And then again, when he was on the show Seinfeld, and like points in his life where he was, you know, peaking, to be honest. And I mean, you see with Dave Chappelle too, it's like, yeah, but comedy has evolved since 2005. Like, oh my God, like God forbid we want something that you couldn't have seen in a nightclub in Boston in 2003 post 9/11.
Right. Right.
But it also doesn't make any, like, listen, it doesn't make any sense to begin with from anyone, but it especially doesn't make sense to anyone who never was connected to that, like, old masculine world to begin with. Like, I would understand if some, like, street fighter was out there going like, yeah, I miss real men when I'd walk down the street to get into fights or whatever. It's still ridiculous, but it's at least he was in a world where that was a thing that he could reminisce on. What is Jerry Seinfeld reminiscing on? What circles did he run in that were all about being masculine?
You know, high school after school clubs, those were some of the circles that he ran in his late 30s as a very rich and famous person at the time. So I guess for him, real masculinity means that he gets to kind of dip his toe in the under 18.
And what's the deal with gymnasts and their little rear ends?
Little rear ends. Yes, we actually I read that we got sign language in the mail the other day, his book, and that caller who wrote in or called in and read that passage about the little rear ends on the underage gymnast was not lying.
Why don't the gymnastics judges?
I missed this.
Judge
I
the
have
rear
no idea what
ends.
you guys are talking about.
Bradley, will you get me the book? I mean, I almost
God.
feel badly because this is Sam's prop here, so we're preempting it, but this is relevant. Okay, so we had a wonderful caller call in. I forget her name, but she's from Canada, from Montreal, who found this book in like a thrift store or got it. And so Sam ordered it.
The real man on the cover right there. Look at
this is the real masculine man. And I remember now the page number because I took a photo of it on my phone. Here we go. This is sign language, Jerry Seinfeld.
I just got that.
Yeah. My question about women's gymnastics is simple. Are we not supposed to be looking at their little rear ends while they're jumping around all over the place? Because I think that's pretty much all I've been doing, and I don't know if it's wrong. I mean, if it's wrong, I'll stop, but no one's ever said anything about it. The announcer never goes, in judging this event, they throw out the high score, the low score, and stop staring at their little rear ends. They really do have the most unbelievable rear ends in the world, and it's hard not to notice it. Whatever they talk about, or whenever they talk about what this girl needs to do to win, I'm thinking, win what? I think we have a winner right here. You know how race car drivers and tennis players get paid to have a company name sewn into their uniform? Can you imagine how much money these women gymnasts, and by the way, they're girls. He's talking about the U.S., I think, Olympic team, right? And they were all under 18 at this time, 15, 16. Can you imagine how much money these women gymnasts could make if they sold advertising in the right spot on that little leotard? All I would have to say is diet slice on one cheek and she's set for life. The greatest ad space ever. We guarantee people will see your message. Your product will be a household name in the qualifying round. You guys,
I mean,
did you hear that? No one's hysterically laughing.
Well, I mean, I don't usually laugh at people with like weird goon fantasies. Like, you know, that's rude. That's kink shaming. I will say I did look it up, and he does think Hugh Grant is a real man in that interview. He says that he liked the way he dressed. No, it's fine. I mean, I thought he was very masculine as an Oompa Loompa in the new Willy Wonka movie. So,
I mean,
In that
just
jar?
yeah.
That's. I don't even know what to say about that. That's.
I just find it weird, especially after the Kirsty Gnome thing. Not to interrupt, although I just did. The kinds of things that people write in their memoirs that get through the editing process. And I didn't. Going back to the Hillary Clinton like slave thing, which came out.
There he is. It's him on the back. Go on.
No, it's just very surprising. People just love self-snitching.
Sign language, exhaust pipe, ice cream. Okay, so these are just his observations, I guess, about the world.
His musings.
and high school girls. But anyway,
What's the deal with all the little rear ends that the gymnastics meet?
why did he say little rear ends like 7 times?
Why can't they judge the little rear ends in the leotards?
I can't stop imagining like Jerry Seinfeld on like the latest Drake track, just a whole album called Little Rear Ends.
Yes.
I mean, I looked
You
up.
can
I
like
looked up
dress
when
like
this
Drake
book.
up like George from like Seinfeld, and
Right.
I looked up
Go
when
on,
this book
Bender.
came out. I looked up when this book came out. It's apparently from '93. And he would have been in his late 30s then. I was hoping at the very
When he was dating
was
the high
Yes,
school
Bender.
girl.
Yeah, Bender. That was like the time he was dating the high schooler.
right. Yeah, I was
Like, he
hoping
was
maybe this
38.
was
Like, it
book
would have been
from,
around
15 years before that.
Yeah. If he was around 38, 39, which was literally, so like he was basically either writing this book or like leading up to the publishing of this book while dating that high schooler, which was on the cover of People magazine at the time.
I mean, it
All
is
right,
a
guys.
bizarre thing to say about gymnasts specifically, knowing that professional gymnasts are at the peak of their, like, when you're seeing them, they are in their, like, mid to late teens. Like, that is bizarre.
I think-
to come out and say that.
I do think, and this is not a exculpatory thing about Jerry Seinfeld saying it, but just the truth about American culture in the 90s, it was very pedophilic. It was like not necessarily more than any time before that, or no, but definitely markedly more than it has been recently. Just thinking back, like the Britney Spears craze, all of like the half naked teen, pop stars. So I could see why he would feel comfortable saying stuff like that.
Well, I would say that honestly, it didn't stop until Me Too. I mean, people should look up old. I went down this rabbit hole because of the accusations against P. Diddy, but look up videos of how Justin Bieber was like groped on stage by Jenny McCartney, or like people saying, "I want to, be a pedophile with you," like just crazy, just out in the open. I mean, and Bieber's my age, right? So I guess like that was mid 2000s. The whole Britney Spears thing. She was asked in basically every interview if she was a virgin when she was underage. I mean, all of that. Like,
I remember when like there was a countdown to like when the Olsen twins turned 18.
I was just about to say
so
that.
fucking
Bender.
bizarre. Even
There was
then,
a
I was like,
countdown.
why is it okay for people to do this? This is so weird. Like,
Yeah.
it's I don't get it. Yeah.
If you know when anyone turns 18 that is not directly related to you, then you have a problem and you should seek help.
Yes, you have a problem.
And not to say to also, like, this is obviously, again, big allegedly over my remarks here, but like the same credulity that would in the early 1990s culturally that would have Jerry Seinfeld on the cover of People magazine being like, Jerry and his new squeeze, 18-year-old from this high school or whatever, is also the same one that was just like, breaking news, Michael Jackson and his little friend going to hang out, and it's like, that's a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Why exactly is a 34-year-old hanging out with a 10-year-old boy, and we're just like, him and a little friend hanging out together, like, oh, it's him and Macaulay Culkin, who's 11.
Sorry to ruin people's day if they're Red Hot Chili Peppers fans, but I saw it the other day, and you'll have to as well.
Oh yes, oh my God, I don't even know what to say about that one.
Things that look illegal that are not. Anthony Kiedis, who is 61 years old, is dating a 19-year-old girl who looks like she's 14.
Anthony Kiedis is?
Yes.
He's 60 years old.
He's 60 years
He's
old.
60 something years old. Yeah. Listen,
right.
I do think like young people today, they get too weirded out by like the age gap with older people. Like, I think someone in their like 30s can date whoever they want. Like, come on, you're 30 years old. This is not one of those examples. I'm sorry. 19 is not, you can't be 60 and dating a 19-year-old. I'm sorry, you just cannot.
I think there's just there is just an age that you reach where, you had enough experience. It's not about your literal legal age. This is about like, well, how much life experience have you had as an adult? And, around 26, 27 you're not as developed as you're going to be. No one ever gets as developed as they're going to be until they're dead. But certainly your choices on who to date can be, more, can be wider. If you're over 25, 26 and you're dating someone like under 24, doesn't matter how close in proximity that is. It's
weird.
It's not great. It's weird. It's weird. I mean, I think back to that one episode.
I gotta read some IMs.
Just in case I wasn't clear though, when I said the 30-year-old thing, I meant a 30-year-old could date a 60-year-old. Who gives a shit? 19 and 60 is the gap I'm talking about. One last thing. I just think to that one scene from Transformers, the one with Mark Wahlberg, the fourth one. So if you remember, where like Michael Bay, the director, I don't want to say of Transformers, I get that stuff from all the time. Like there's just a scene where the boyfriend of Mark Wahlberg's daughter is like 19 and he's dating like his like 16 or 17-year-old daughter. And he just like whips out like a laminated piece of paper that has like the statutory rape laws on them, or specifically the Romeo and Juliet laws. And I only mention that like this is the kind of stuff that like appeared in media not 15 years ago. And so we're in a whole different time with like people getting canceled and like, et cetera, for, behavior not quite even that bad.
All right, guys, gonna read some IMs and then we will get out of here. Guy from Brooklyn, Politico reported she was pressured by... Oh, I read that already. Ramona Frankenstein, Brandon seems to be forgetting you were still allowed to be racist to Italian people. In fairness, we have earned it by being literal cartoon characters.
Well, you may have not realized this, but Italian is now a type of white. So that's encompassed under rich Christians, I like to think. Dave from Jamaica, cops around the world are very similar. They drive the worst. They park the worst. The real Jank says, is it possible Anna is sending super chats dissing Emma? No. Is it possible, or is it probable Anna is sending super chats dissing Emma? Is it possible? Of course. I mean,
and that's coming from the real Jank, so he would know.
I haven't seen this, but I just think, there are a lot of imposters on the internet. It's just that I would be surprised.
Also, if I was someone of that stature and wanted to talk shit, why would I spend the money on a super chat? I could just call in and say it up front for free.
I guess that's true.
We want to encourage that. We want to encourage that behavior.
We do. 646-257-3920. Come in and fight with me on the phone lines. A slut spelled backwards says, Brandon took the words right out of my mouth. The whole right-wing movement is a desperate attempt to go back in time when they were young. Why can't these guys just buy a red sports car and a leather jacket? A normal midlife crisis.
Because that's not even what they're reminiscing on. Like I saw Tim Pool the other day going like, look what they took from you. Remember when you would play Halo in the basement with your friends while eating a pizza? It's like that's what you're reminiscing on. That's what you miss. You miss that, you with the huge compound and a skate park in your mansion. Yeah. You missed the basement with the pizza and the Halo. You could actually do that. No one took it from you. You can choose to do that in your compound.
Is there no pizza around the compound?
Not to like psychoanalyze these people, it's because they're unhappy now because they're conservatives. They, partially because, or they've gotten old. And so like a lot of conservatives, despite being trolls online who are always like doing that sad, like laughing, cry emoji, sideways tilt, are just very unhappy. And so of course they're nostalgic for a time in their life when they remember being happy, whether it's when they were on Seinfeld or whether it was when Tim Pool was like, I guess Halo came out in 2003. So like Tim Pool would have been 21-ish. I don't know how old Tim Pool was. I didn't clock when he turned 18. So I can't really say. So that was probably the last time
you were counting down
counting down.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.